Let's start our Wednesday mindful Pilates class. And look, Izzy brought me one of Jumbo's little creatures. Looks like a little baby gorilla that squeaks. Okay, let's lie down. If you need a pillow because you have shortening at the back of your neck and you need a little help lengthening it, then lay down with a pillow under your head. Remember, the pillow should just be under your skull, not under your neck, so that your neck has its natural cervical curve and isn't inhibited. Now, heels line up with sit bones, and let's begin with just some somatic walking to release the spine. And those of you interested in shoulder and neck opening and strengthening, we begin that here on our backs with our palms up and our thumbs out, broad across our collarbones, shoulder blades resting back into the mat. And we rock the pelvis side to side and relax across the shoulder girdle. Let the hands relax and the arm bones become heavy. Fluid breath. My son Colin arrives down here tomorrow, and I think they're at the phase where they have about 3.5 hours of pink light in Fairbanks. Although he's missed the depth of winter this year because he was on the East Coast working remotely for a few weeks. But imagine 3.5 hours of pink if we think 9-hour days are short. Shoulders are heavy, chest is open. Now let the pelvis come to stillness. And for a moment, lift your left shoulder, ground your right, and then ground left, lift right, and let your shoulder girdle rock. Now, your pelvis can rock with it, but just feel into that lift of the shoulder. It may help to lift the hip on the same side. And then really rest the arm bone, rest the bones back down towards the mat, allowing the back of the spine at the rib cage to open. This is kind of a massage for those back ribs. Fluid, three-dimensional breath. And then come back to stillness and nod your tailbone towards the earth and your tailbone towards the sky. Tailbone to earth, tailbone towards sky. Over accentuating your lumbar curve and then flattening your lumbar curve. We just gently move the spine. Still, we rest the arms heavy. Rest the shoulders broad. Open the fascia in the back body, the hips, and the chest. And then rest in your neutral lumbar curve. Check that your gaze is perpendicular to the earth. And exhale, float one leg up to tabletop, shin parallel to the earth, and float the foot back down light as a feather. Float the other leg up, float it down light. Now notice how as your legs move, there is a subtle shift in your shoulders. Just notice that. Floating the leg up on the exhale, floating it down on the inhale. Stay with your three-dimensional breath. And remember, when we slow it down, we may actually feel more into the body, create more efficient movement. So we slow it down. We exhale up and inhale down. And we feel into the subtleties of the shift in the hips, the spine, and the shoulders. Relax the jaw. Relax the muscles of the face and the eyes. Now exhale one leg up to tabletop. And exhale the other up to join it. Some of you may want a folded blanket under your sacrum here. Bring your hands to the front of your femur bones, fingers up, and press at 10% of effort, hands into femurs. Broad shoulders, shoulders released away from the skull. Hug the femur bones into the hands. So you're creating an isometric core strengthener as you press your hands into your femurs and hug your femurs towards your chest. Now bring it up to 20% or 30% of effort. Still, the shoulders are broad, the neck is long, the gaze is perpendicular to the floor. Maybe you bring it up to 40 or 50% of pressure, hands into the femur bones. Still breathe into the torso. Feel the muscles that are working and how the canister of your torso has gotten tighter in its work. Now, maybe you press up to 60 or 70% of effort, but we don't strain the neck, the jaw, the eyes to do it. And then hug the knees into your chest. Circle them apart and back together again. Good morning, hips. Nobody asked for hips today, but we're going to circle you anyway. And take the circles the other way. Remember, your femur bone is pressing on the synovial glands, which are releasing fluid into the joint when you do this. Very healthy for your hips. Now, hug the knees together and circle them together around and feel the perimeter of your sacrum. Get to know this perimeter of your sacrum, the base of your spine. It's in an arrowhead shape so that it sits down between your ilium bones of your hips. This creates kind of a strong connection, that arrowhead, when we're standing with the hug of gravity down. But the SI joints can get misaligned, so this massage can help them release back into their positions. Take your circle the other way. Misalignment of your SI joints can lead to low back pain, can lead to what feels like sciatic pain. So we massage the SI joints and get to know the sacrum. Good morning, sacrum. At the bottom tip of your sacrum is your tailbone. The top of your sacrum, the lumbar spine. Now hug your knees in. Keep the right knee hugged in and lengthen your left leg out at a 45-degree angle. Remember, it can be a little higher if that feels like a strain. And try to lengthen the leg if you can. If you're tall, this is harder, and it may be better farther up. And we switch and switch. Now nod your nose towards your mouth and almost lift your head from the hairline, but don't lift the head off the floor. In fact, maybe only lift 50% of the weight of the head. Can you do that? It's like patting your stomach and rubbing your head. Can you do the almost lift from your hairline while your legs are reaching out and your toe is pushing a button? Now flex your feet and press with the heel. Stretching the back fascia of the legs, stretching the calves, the Achilles tendon. Almost lifting from the hairline. Still, we strengthen those front neck flexors. We are not lifting from the chin. Now hug both knees in. Reach hands and feet for the sky. Zip up the inner thighs and take the wrists away from the ankles, ankles away from the wrists. Circle the arms and hug the knees in. Inhale out and exhale in. Inhale out and exhale in. Those of you who can straighten the legs, this assists you in strengthening your medial quad, which helps you track your kneecap. We inhale out and exhale in. Inhale and exhale. Feel the strength at your center, that your limbs integrate into. Now hug in and rest your arms to your sides, palms up, thumbs out, shoulders broad, and toe dip, one foot towards the floor, and exhale it up. Inhale the toe dip, exhale the lift. Remember to keep your knee at a right angle. If you're bringing your heel towards your buttock, you're not getting the psoas work. You want to be moving the femur bone. So you're hinging at the hip, not the knee. We inhale the lower, exhale the lift. And you can lower or lift to about 2/3 of the way down. You don't have to go that far. But I don't want you bringing the toe all the way to the floor and rebounding the leg back up. That uses momentum. We're trying to strengthen in a fluid, strong, moving way. Feel into almost lifting your head from the hairline here, lengthening through the neck. We got the front neck flexors on board. Shoulders broad, ground them back. Now we're starting to strengthen the back body. And then let the legs rise up again, hands to the front of the femur bones, press the palms into the femurs, hug the femurs towards your chest, press and pull, shoulders broad, shoulders released away from the skull. Spread your toes as wide as they'll go as you flex your feet. You can be at 10% of effort here, up to 70% of effort, but not at 100. We don't want to go to 100 because then we start straining at the joints. And release. Rest your arms to your sides and toe dip. You can go back to the single leg toe dips or grounding the shoulders, toe dip both feet. Exhale back up, shoulders broad. Inhale down and exhale up. Smooth, slow, and fluid movement. We inhale down and exhale up, still grounding the head of the arm bones back, training our posture. And one more. And then coming up, bring your hands flat to flat behind the head. If you habitually do this one way, switch it up. Exhale, lift your right elbow, lengthen your right leg for your crisscross. Lift the elbow like you could touch a button. And then switch. Really rest your head back. Traction from the base of your skull. Reach the leg long, and if you can, straighten the leg at the knee to strengthen that vastus medialis, that inner quad. We reach the elbow skyward, lift the shoulder blade into the back ribs to lift the ribs off, and the low rib reaches across to its opposite hip pointer. And now we are strengthening our oblique muscles. Rest your head back, rest the eyes, rest the face. And come back to center and rest the head. And float one foot to the floor and then the other. And pause with a 3-dimensional breath. Fluid breath. Take your feet as wide as your mat and your hands overhead. And let your knees fall out to the left and stretch from the right arm through the right knee. And maybe you gently rock your legs to find the stretch. And you inhale the stretch and you exhale, relax into the hug of gravity. And we invite the myofascial web to open, to create space and harmony in the body. And then exhale, knees through center to the other side. Stretch the other side. Fluid breath. Gentle rocking if that helps you get deeper into the stretch. Fluid breath. And come back to center and release your arms back to your sides. Press your pillow out. Bring your arms parallel to your torso, palms facing each other across your body. Shoulders broad. Press the whole length of your humerus bone back, your upper arm bone. Feel your shoulder blades broad. Now, as you press the arms back, don't flare the ribs skyward. Keep your neutral lumbar curve. Now keep the arms pressed back and gently rock your pelvis side to side, somatic walking. And notice the pressure shift in the arms and shoulders. It may be subtle, but feel for how the rocking motion moves up the body. Continue pressing the arms back and feel how you're strengthening the backs of your arms, the area around the shoulder blades. Fluid breath as you rock your hips. And now come to center. The arms are still pressing back. Exhale, lift your pelvis skyward. Bridge pose. Inhale, lower the pelvis almost to touch the floor, and exhale, lift. And inhale, lower. And move slowly so that you feel what's working in your body. Can you relax the neck and keep a neutral curve, letting the work come across the shoulder girdle, down the arms. Now inhale to the lifted pelvis and pulse your pelvis skyward. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and hold. Lengthen the tailbone towards the backs of your legs, pressing the arms back. This is a great way to realign our posture. Fluid, three-dimensional breath. And exhale, lower the pelvis to the floor. Stretch your arms out like wings. And relax the head of the arm bone back. Now lift the head of the arm bone skyward and release it back. Lift it skyward. So you're just kind of shrugging your shoulders up towards the sky and back towards the earth. Feel how you can stretch around your rotator cuff that way. Fluid breath. Now, lift your hands up so the palms are facing towards the foot of your mat. Your fingernails are facing towards the top of the mat. Your arms are open in a T. And exhale, slowly bring your palms down towards the floor, internally rotating the head of the arm bone. Only go as far as is okay in your body. Notice if one side is different from the other. This is internal rotation. Come back to neutral and take your fingernails back behind you, externally rotating the arm bone. And one more time, come internally rotated. Maybe you pause somewhere along the way in the stretch. Fluid, three-dimensional breaths. Open the hands back. Feel the external rotation. Beautiful. Come back to neutral. Bring your arms to your sides. Lift your pelvis and place your ball, block, or oov underneath your pelvis. Rest into your supported bridge. Arms open wide, broad across your shoulder girdle. Float one leg to tabletop. Float it back down, light as a feather. Float the other leg up. Land light as a feather. Now bring your hands up, palms facing each other. Really find your humerus bones pressing back and float one leg into tabletop and the other to follow. Bring your feet together, knees as wide as your shoulders, and toe dip at this angle. Now we get deeper into the psoas. We inhale the toe dip, we exhale up, only going at most 2/3 of the way, keeping our front ribs in relation to our hip pointers, keeping our neutral lumbar curve, and grounding across the top of the shoulder girdle. Fluid breath. Oh, welcome back, John. Fluid breath. Now come back up and bring your legs together. Hug your shins towards each other. Really grounding broad across the shoulder girdle, down the arms. Open the left leg out like the page of a book. And exhale it to center. And open the right leg out. And exhale it to center. How still can you keep the still leg? How still can you keep the whole body by using your arms and shoulder girdle, by using your myofascial slings and abdominal core? Inhale out and exhale in. Inhale out and exhale in. One more. Feel into the work in the upper body, into the connection to the lower body. And coming back together, lift the legs up and take the right leg overhead, left leg long. Pulse, pulse, and switch. Pulse, pulse, and switch. Remember, the pulse wants to be at most an inch. Think of making it even smaller. Could I pulse my toes just a centimeter? There's the challenge. We'll get down to the millimeter. Pulse, 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 pulse. Arms are still pressing back, shoulders broad. And now release your arms along the mat and see, can you ground the shoulders back and bicycle? Fluid breath. Can you stay strong in your abdominal core, front ribs to hip pointers? Slow motion bicycling will help you find the most efficient movement possible. Lengthen the back of your neck, gaze perpendicular to the floor. If it isn't, put a pillow under your head, just a very, very small one. Now bicycle backwards. Very light, slow it down. Feel for the motion, slow. This is actually more work for the core because you are not using momentum. Slow it down. Some of you are speed racing. Slow it down. And now bring the legs back up, heels together. And open your feet just 2 inches and click the heels together. And open and click and open and click. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Zip the legs together. Lower the heels just an inch. And a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And hold. Lengthen and lower. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And hold. Lengthen and lift. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And hold. Hug in the banks of your river. Lengthen to the outer heel. Come to the very top. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And hold. Lengthen. Turn your feet parallel and step your big toe ball mound to the center of the other foot arch. And then step the other ball mound to the center. And step and step. We're going to step down towards the foot of the mat. If it gets to be a strain, then stop and step in place. Keep your arms grounding back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and down. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Bring your heels together. Open your legs as wide as the mat. Down the mat, heels together and up. Open, down, together, and up. Open, down, together, and up. Now down, open, up, and together. Down, open, up, and together. Last one. Open, up, and together, and bend your knees. And soften your face and your shoulders. And step one foot to the floor, and then the other. And lengthen one leg out over your prop. If it's comfortable, take the arms overhead and stretch the whole myofascial web. Fluid breath. Feel the psoas on this side. And then step the foot in and stretch the other side. And notice if one side feels tighter than the other. It can change. Today, my right side feels tighter, which is kind of unusual for me. Usually it's the left. I was hauling wood up to the house yesterday. Maybe I was using my right psoas in a way I didn't realize. And if you're comfortable, you can stretch both legs over your prop. Reach from fingers to feet. Three-dimensional breath into the whole circle of the lowest ribs. Remember, this three-dimensional breath is fundamental to strengthening around the whole circumference of the spine. And step your feet back in. Lift up off your prop and lower your sacrum. Come back to your somatic walking. Let the shoulder lift off with the hip today. Let the shoulder and hip rock together. And then rest your sacrum back. Bring your right ankle up over your left knee. Let the right knee open, flex the right foot, and draw the legs in. Draw in and rock gently side to side at the hip, and pause where the stretch is right for you. Fluid breath. Long neck. Eyes resting back in their sockets. See if the breath can come in and stretch the tissue open from the inside of the body. And release the left foot and then the right. Left ankle over right femur, left knee open, left foot flexed. Draw the legs in as far as is comfortable for you. You may rest the right foot on a block. You may keep the right foot on the floor. Breathe into your hips. Relax into the stretch. We do more for the body if we don't force ourselves into a stretch that grips back. If we can come into a stretch where we can actually relax the tissue into the stretch on the exhales, more benefit. Three-dimensional breaths that fill the torso and relax the myofascia, creating space. Now release the right foot down and the left foot down and roll over onto your side. Let's do a tiny bit of side body work, building bone density in the lower arm, elbow under shoulder. Let's inhale and lift the top arm up and over. There are two benefits to this because we get to stretch the upper body as we strengthen the lower body. We inhale, the hip can stay on the floor. We reach the arm overhead and exhale back down. Fluid breath. Lift the lower side body so you come into a bit of a rainbow shape. Inhaling and exhaling. Your knees are bent and your feet are in a clamshell position, so your heels align with your sit bones. And this will give you the stability if you want to lift your hip off the floor when you inhale up and over and exhale back down. So we put a little weight on this lower arm. This helps us to build bone density as we stretch the upper side. We inhale and exhale. Now you can stay with these rainbows, or you can come into a lifted side plank, lifting the hip broad across the shoulder girdle. Or you can lengthen the bottom leg, step the top foot perpendicular, or you can stack the feet. Fluid breath. Good to see you, Evan. Fluid breath, long spine from the heels, through the pelvic floor, through the crown chakra. Shoulder blades on the back. And then exhale, release, and let's take it to the other side. Root down into the forearm. Inhale the upper arm up and over in your rainbow. Exhale back down. Remember, your legs are in a clamshell position. So your heels are aligned with your sit bones and your knees are bent forward. Feel, even with your hips on the floor, that upper side body lifting. You should feel a lift under the armpit and along the outer shoulder blade. Feel for it. Now, some of you may want to root into the forearm and lift the hips as you take the top arm over. And then you're getting more into that lower side. You're strengthening the shoulder of this upper of the arm that's grounding you. We inhale and exhale. It's all interconnected. The stretching upper arm opens the fascia for the shoulders. If this is too much for any of you, remember you can do a side plank on the wall. You can stay with the rainbows or lift into your chosen plank. I'm doing a different plank on each side. Believe it or not, my right arm is still a little sore from my tetanus shot. Lengthen from the arches of your long leg foot or from your knee up through your pelvic floor, along the spine, through the crown chakra. Shoulders relax away from ears. And then exhale, release down and roll yourselves over onto hands and knees. If you need to, bring your hands onto a chair seat and stand on your feet. And inhale into your cow. And exhale into your cat. Fluid breath, inhaling cow. And exhaling cat. Pause in your hissing cat and take your sit bones towards your heels. Breathe space between the lumbar vertebrae. Let your head and pelvis traction away from each other, opposite sides of the rainbow. Invite the breath between the vertebrae. Walk your fingers forward as far as they'll go, pelvis still extended back. Breathe into the shoulders. Exhale back up to neutral. And float your left fingertips out to the side, your left shoulder blade onto the back. Lengthen from tail through top of head. And see, can you lift the right shin? Now we're waking up our myofascial slings. From the back shoulder to the back buttock, lower your fingertips, lower your shin, and inhale, float them up. And exhale, float them down. We're strengthening our obliques and our myofascial slings. Inhale and exhale. Pause in the lift again. Check in that your grounding elbow isn't hyperextending, and lengthen the spine. And then release. Take your right fingertips out. Float your right shoulder onto the back. You could just work the arm here. This back strength is super important for most of us. These muscles are long and often weak. Lengthen through the crown chakra. If you'd like to, lift the left shin. Feel into the connection from shoulder to buttock, from lifted hip pointer to the opposite low rib, and lower fingers and shin, and inhale, lift. And pet your dog if she comes and needs a little attention. Fluid breath, inhaling and exhaling, inhaling and exhaling. One more. And then release back down and inhale your cow and exhale your cat. And inhale your cow and exhale your cat. And coming to neutral, roll back into your child's pose or step back if you're on the chair into your downward dog. Fluid breath. If you're on the chair, you'll walk your pelvis around to create a side stretch. If you're on the floor, walk your hands around to the right and breathe into the left side body. Fluid breath, opening the fascial network of the shoulders. Let the three-dimensional breath pulse the body. Walk back through the center to the other side and breathe into opening your fascia. Exhale, let the relax help stretch your torso open. The breath pulses you from the inside. Feel for it in your back body. Invite space into the body, into this myofascial matrix. Come back to neutral. And come up onto your hands or onto your forearms on blocks or on a footstool. And walk your knees back so that your knees are down and your feet are up and you're in a low plank. Pause here in your low plank. Good. Fluid breath. Now I want you to find length from the pelvic floor along the spine up through the neck into the skull. Lift the base of the skull away from the tailbone. Now you can stay with this low plank or you can let your feet come down and lift into a full plank. Make sure you can lift underneath your navel. Float one foot up off the floor. Ooh, Izzy came in and she's supporting my belly. Float the other foot up off the floor. Float both feet up off the floor. Float your head. Fluid breath. Keep the back of your neck long. And roll back into your child's pose. Walk in your child's pose. Walk forward into your downward dog, sorry. And walk your dog. Walk the dog. Ooh, yeah. Again, building strength in the upper body. Shoulders broad, hands grounded. Feel into each finger pad. Activate the finger pads so they're clawing at the mat a little bit. Feel into how that can help you lift the center of your palm and support your carpal tunnel. Now, come back to your neutral dog and roll forward into your plank again. Long spine. And roll back into your downward dog again. And step your feet forward. Heels aligned with sit bones. Bend your knees. And unhinge into your Utkatasana. Long spine, shoulder blades on the back body. Fluid breath. Release your arms and inhale. Stretch towards the sky, Utkatasana. Interlace your fingers, thumbs to the base of the skull. Reach your elbows skyward, standing back bend. Support the head. Lift the base of the skull with your thumbs. Root into the four corners of your feet. Hug in the banks of your river. And if you'd like to, unfurl your arms into a standing back bend. Stretch through each finger. Root the feet. Lengthen the spine. This is spinal strengthening right here. Pull an energetic sleeve up your spine to lengthen it. And exhale, hands to the heart. Mountain pose. Okay, before we do some arm weight strengthening, let's come to our wall to do a little more of this back awakening. So come to your wall and press the whole length of your humerus bone back into it. Rest your head back. It may not come to the wall. And you're in a Tadasana. So your heels don't have to be right against the wall. They're under you. And now breathe three-dimensionally into the whole circumference of your lowest ribs. Breathe your chest wide and broad. And really rest the head of the arm bones back. This will help us stretch the front chest. Help us realign the thoracic spine if it's tightened into a hinge forward. Now place your weight on one foot and come to the opposite toe. Ground strongly into the standing leg and see if you can lift the knee. Broad across the shoulder girdle. Don't flare the ribs. Reach the tailbone earthward, the crown chakra skyward, and maybe straighten the leg. Strong in the back body. Rest your heart center back. Rest your hyoid bone in and release. Step onto the four corners of the other foot. Broad through the back, come to the toe. Grounded in the foot, lift the knee. Breathe three-dimensionally and perhaps lengthen the leg. You can stop anywhere along that trajectory to create strength. And release. Still on 2 feet, ground and open across the back body. Ground through the humerus bones. into the wall. Feel your back body ground into the heels and release. Now, turn with your side to the wall, still in your robot arms, and press one arm into the wall and feel how the opposite foot presses into the ground. This is really important awareness to build in our bodies because these are your myofascial slings that sling across the body. Feel how if you press the arm into the wall, the opposite foot activates. Now activate the foot closest to the wall and imagine a wall on the other arm and press into the imaginary wall and balance the energy. Feel how strong you can be, grounding into both feet, broad across the back, and release. And now try the other side. So I'm looking at you now, and I'm looking for you to stand in your Tadasana with your head resting back. Beautiful posture, Vicky. That looks great. Now press the arm against the wall into the wall. You're right next to the wall. You're not opening the arm like a wing. You're really right up next to the wall. So the whole arm, yep, that's better, Karen. The whole arm is against the wall, and you press it out sideways. And it is at an L shape, yep. Now press it into the wall and feel how the opposite foot activates. Really press it and feel into that grounding foot and lengthen up the spine while you do it. Beautiful posture, Evan. Susie, Katie, I'm letting those of you who I know, who I can see straight on know about your posture. Fluid breath. So your arms are bent in robot arms. The arm is pressing into the wall, the opposite foot. Now, pretend like there's a wall at the other arm. Press the foot by the wall down and press into the other arm. Broaden across your body. Fluid, three-dimensional breath. Feel into your strength and stability. And release. Okay. Come back to your mat and pick up your TheraBand. I'm getting all these little dog toys on my mat. Izzy's been a little jealous because Jumbo's here. So she comes in to check in with me a little bit. Do you still love me? Shoulder blades on the back body. 8 corners of your feet grounding. Bring your left palm forward. Broad across your shoulder girdle. You've really trained yourself now to stand down into your feet. Use your myofascial slings and open that left arm. Feel into your back body, shoulder blade to shoulder blade. Now imagine those walls you just pushed into, and you can broaden across your back and across your pelvis and root into the feet. Now keep strong in your right leg and lift your left toe. And lift your left knee and tap the toe. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And step down and release. And roll your shoulders. Okay, let's switch. Left hand to the hip, right palm up, arm straight forward. Find your left shoulder blade. Ground into the 4 corners of each foot. Lengthen the spine. And then open the right arm without flaring your ribs. Shoulder blades broad on the back. Feel into the muscles that are working. Make sure your knees aren't hyperextending, that your pelvis is in neutral. And lift to your right toe. And lift the right knee and tap. 2, 3, 4, and 5. And step down, still broad across the shoulders. And release. And inhale, lift the TheraBand up overhead and open it wide. And release it up. And using the outer shoulder blade, open it wide and release it up. So this is a wonderful position that turns off our upper trapezius, which in most of us overworks. And it invites us to wake up to the muscles lower in the back and shoulder. Feel for them. And open and hold and lift to your left toe. and lift the left knee and circle. 2, 3, and step down. Lift to the right toe. Lift the right knee and circle. 2, 3, and step down. Staying right here. Take an inhale, lengthen the spine, and gently twist to the left. Come back to center. Gently twist to the right. Come back to center. Feel your left shoulder blade guide the twist. You're strengthening the back muscles here. Come to center. Twist to the right. Feel the right shoulder blade, the rhomboids. Come back to center and release. Bring the TheraBand right against the front thighs. Press the hands back. Let the arms rest back. And pressing the hands back, press the head of the arm bone back. Open across your collarbones and breathe into the heart. Root your tailbone and lift the base of the skull. 4 corners of the feet actively grounding. Now we breathe deep into the whole circumference of the torso. And on your next inhale, look to the right. And exhale to center. And inhale left. And exhale center. And inhale right. And exhale center. And inhale left. And exhale center. And release and roll your shoulders. Turn your palms up. Place your elbows in golf tees to either side of your waist. And remember, you don't have to have the TheraBand be too hard here. We're going to inhale and open the hands out to the sides, building that external rotation, and come back in. So we inhale, the elbows don't flare out, they don't come into the waist, they sit straight down into those golf tees, and come back in. We don't open the arms by throwing our ribs forward or throwing our pelvis forward. We stay in our neutral stance, opening the arms on an inhale, and exhaling the release. Let's inhale, open wide. Exhale the release. Great for your rotator cuff. One more time. Inhale, open. Pause in the open. Feel into what's working. And release. Release the TheraBand and inhale it up overhead. Take it as far back as is comfortable. If this stretch doesn't work for you, you can go to the wall. Some of you will be able to bring the TheraBand down back behind you. Inhale up and over. Good morning, shoulders. Inhaling and exhaling. And release your TheraBand and pick up your hand weights. Okay, so we did all that core awakening early on. We've awakened the myofascial slings. Now let's come into movement, a gentle marching. Point your toe as you lift your knee. You're broad across the front chest. And we don't throw the hands too far forward or too far back. The danger is throwing the elbow too far back and tearing the front of the rotator cuff. So we let the movement be somewhat gentle, not into our full range. And we may march up and down the mat a little bit with the heart and the gaze lifted, making sure there aren't any props in our way. Fluid breath. Waking up for our Wednesday, the second shortest day of the year. Okay, now let's slow the march and release the hands. Bring the hands to your sides and inhale, snow angel the arms. Now some of you, you're not going to go all the way up if it doesn't feel good in the shoulder. Take the left toe out in snow angel and release. Here's your side body strengthening work. Katie, we lift and we release. We inhale up the length of the spine and release. Feel into the 3 arches of your standing foot. And 2 more. Inhale and exhale, lengthening as you lift and release. Take the next toe out. Inhale, just the arms first. and release. Ground into the four corners, lift the arches, and release. Draw that energy sleeve up the spine. Lengthen it as the arms float up and float down. And we inhale and exhale. And one more. And release. Bring your arms up into their cactus position. And exhale, pinkies together, cat curl of the spine. Inhale, open the heart, lift the heart. Exhale and inhale. Again, feel for the muscles around the shoulder blade and between the shoulder blades working. Fluid breath. Slowing the motion down to feel into its impact on the body. It's interesting, when I slow down, I can feel my shoulders are moving at a little different rate. Can I bring them into balance? Now, open the arms and reach them skyward. I love these little hand weights where they kind of wrap around your hand, because then I can open my fingers. Bend the elbows out, bend the knees. Reach the hands and stretch the legs. And bend and stretch. And bend and stretch. Now as you stretch, notice, do you have the tendency to stretch more in the front body? Or when you reach up, try to get the backside bodies to stretch. And one more. And then open your arms to goalposts and bring the hands towards your shoulders. And open out without collapsing in the elbow, and bicep curl. And open and lift to one toe and step down. The other toe and down, perhaps lift the knee and down. Can you keep the gaze and heart lifted? Keep strong in the outer shoulder blade. Yeah, fluid breath, fluid movement. Now see, can you bicep curl in and pause? Perhaps lift the leg, open the arms, release back down, and roll the shoulders. Lift back up, bicep curl in, lift the knee, perhaps straighten the leg, open the arms, and step down and roll the shoulders. Okay, now more of that chest expansion work where we wake up the muscles of the back. Your palms face your hips. You're broad across the shoulder girdle. The head of the arm bones rest back, shoulder blades on the back. Now you take your hands slightly back behind you, but this, you don't take them so far back that you throw the shoulders forward. You take the head of the arm bone back too, and release in and back and forward, stretching across the front chest, waking up the rhomboids. Does that make sense? Can you see what I'm doing? So my wrist may go back a little farther than my arm bone, but I'm not throwing the arm bone forward. I'm stretching back. I'm using the muscles between my shoulder blades to draw the head of the arm bone back by drawing the shoulder blades a little closer together. Let the hands dangle, the arms long. You're not compressing up into the shoulder girdle here. You're allowing for space as you strengthen the back. Good. Now, bring your arms open in wings, palms forward. Bring the hands a little forward of the shoulder blades, of the shoulders, and bring the shoulders back again, back a little towards each other, towards midline as you open the wings. It's a very gentle motion, forward to back, forward to back. Now your knees aren't hyperextending and your pelvis isn't fluctuating too much, nor are your lowest ribs. These are all points where people can be loose so that they don't have to work the back. So try to stabilize those three junctures so you work your rhomboids. And release and roll your shoulders. Now let's work the triceps before we end. Let's bend the knees, hinge forward, and open your arms back, broad across your shoulder girdle. And if you have low back issues, you may want to just stay standing tall, or you may want to put one hand on a support. Bend your arms and lower your hands. Let the humerus bone hang out of the shoulder girdle every time you do that so that you create stretch and space. Then integrate the shoulder, lift the arm bones, straighten the arms. And we bend and lower and release. Lift and straighten. Now as you extend the knuckles back, broad across your shoulder girdle, still create space between the shoulder and the humerus bone. Use your back strength, not so much your upper trap strength and the muscles that kind of cinch in the shoulder girdle. Bend the elbows, lower, release, integrate, lift, straighten, stretch the arms out of the shoulder girdle, lengthen the neck. One more time. Bend, release, lift, and straighten. Make sure you're not cinching things too hard into the shoulder girdle and neck. Take a few three-dimensional breaths. And bend your arms. Lower and release, come up and roll your shoulders. Okay, release one hand weight and hold the other one. Bend your knees, and I'm going to support myself with one hand on one femur, and the other hand weight gets to just come forward and draw a tiny circle. So I'm drawing that tiny circle and allowing the hand and arm to traction out my shoulder. Yeah, and take the circle the other way. Now make sure you're using your abdominal strength around your spine to support you here. Really try to let the arm hang out of the shoulder joint. And come back up. Switch hands. Bend. As you're ready, really try to let the arm pendulum on its own. So it's just, I'm really trying to let it traction out of the shoulder joint. Fluid breath. You need a lot of stability in the lower body and the core, but we're letting go at this one shoulder. See if you can do that. It's like training the shoulder. Circle the other way. And then activate your core and come up. All right. Let's come to feet together in our Pilates V. Shoulder blades on the back body, palms forward, thumbs out. Let your arms be soft and let them traction out of the shoulder girdle. The neck long skyward. The hot air balloon picking you up from the palate now. Activate your hip band and bend your knees. And lift to the balls of the feet and zip it up and lower and bend. Lift, zip and lower and bend. Lift, zip and lower. Bend, lift, zip and lower and bend. Lift, zip and hold and lower. Now take your left foot in front of you. Hug in the banks of the river. Lift through the pelvic floor, lift the heart. And lift the left toes and tap. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Lift the leg, bend the knee. Tap the shin with the foot and straighten and tap and straighten and tap. Straighten and tap and straighten and tap. Step down. Take the right foot out. Find the banks of your river. Find buoyancy under your armpits, a lifting to the heart, and lift the toe. And tap. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now lift the leg and bring the foot in and swing it open and closed. Open and closed. Open and closed and open and closed. And step down. And inhale. Draw in positive energy for your upcoming solstice and holidays. Inhale into how we can integrate our awareness into this whole and feel the wonders of the body. And inhale in to a wonderful Wednesday for all of you. Okie dokie.